Hey, welcome to another edition of Beer for Breakfast, ABV. Yeah. And for the first time, we're actually in an actual beer establishment. Hooray. Check it out. We're at Green Flash Brewing, just up the road from 91X World Domination headquarters in Beer Mar, as we like to say. Dave Adams is here from Green Flash. Good to see you, Dave.
Hi, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Frequent guest to Beer for Breakfast. And also, you may recognize the voice of Candace Vallon from the House of Blues, the marketing manager, who is on to talk about Local Brews, Local Grooves, which is happening on Saturday, March the 25th. And Danielle, you're going to be hosting things for Local Brews, Local Grooves, all right?
Excited.
And Paul Segura is here, everybody, from the Carl Smells Brewing Company, our regular 91X beer enthusiast. So we have a couple of beers to try. And Dave, we're going to start off with the Baroque Belgique Belgian Pale with Brett.
Yes, sir. Here we go.
And I said that correctly. Thanks to my notes.
You did. You crushed it, dude. So yeah, Baroque Belgique, it's part of our Cellar 3 line, which is our barrel aging facility over in Poway. And this particular beer, always champagne-like and fun.
There we go.
Ooh, I can smell the hops from here.
This beer is a kind of a take on a Belgian-style pale with Brett. If we were a post-World War Belgian brewery, and I have a pretty nice affinity for this particular beverage here. It's kind of a go-to for me at the old household. But what it does is it provides that nice, sharp kind of Brett carbonation. It's funky and earthy, and it has that champagne-like effervescence. A little bit of that hay, and
it's got a white pepper aroma coming off of it too.
Totally.
Super hoppy.
Yeah, I know. It's got that, it's like Orval with some hops going on in it and a little more citrus pop, but really, really nice beer. But we have beers, all kinds of beers that are similar to this over at the Cellar 3 facility. We'll try one more after this as well. But this is kind of what you can expect, seeing 15 barrel-aged beers over there all the time. And we're actually going to be pouring one at Local Brews and Local Grooves called Dry Hop Fresco Sauvage, which is similar, like light Saison, bright with Brett, and then it also uses a whole bunch of dry hops, so you get that aroma of that nice fresh IPA, double IPA, big 2 pounds, 2.5 pounds a barrel of dry hop, and then rounds it out with that nice little touch of acidity and the funk from the Brett, and I think it's a really fun beer. So
the funk is kind of subtle. It's got that
super
farmhouse, that sort of mustiness, but the hops really kind of take over in the aroma. I just love this beer, man.
Thank you.
And Candace, if I can use another Tom Perry joke, what is on tap for Local Brews, Local Grooves this time around?
So we're bringing back 16 bands, 16 breweries.
Cool.
So typically we bring back 8 bands that we had the last time around that had a really good reception, and then we have 8 new ones. So Tim Piles has approved a bunch of our bands, which is awesome.
Tim Piles?
Never heard of him.
Never heard of him. So him and Danielle are going to come down and hang out.
And there's actually an X-Fest artist who will be there. Creature Canyon, which is our local break, they will be at Local Brews, Local Grooves. So it's going to be a little appetizer to X-Fest.
Awesome.
They're doing so well right now.
Yeah.
Loving it. And then the biggest thing is our VIP hour. So that's 5 to 6. It's an upgraded ticket. It's unlimited complimentary samples of all the breweries and some of our food. So that's when you're going to be able to get your hands on first all of this really awesome specific event beer that's coming down. So you'll be able to try the beer that Dave talked about before anybody else. And so that's our biggest upgrade for that, because it's awesome.
And relax and see some great bands.
Totally.
All right.
It's a party.
16 bands, 16 beers. Fun night.
Well, 16 breweries that all bring at least 3 beers. So there's...
Oh, it's exponential.
Yeah. You're not leaving thirsty.
So that's happening Saturday, March the 25th. Yeah, exactly. At the House of Blues. And we're trying right now the Baroque Belgique. Nice job, Dave. This is great.
Excellent job. Yeah, this is Pat Korn. This is actually a Chuck Silva beer that he made a long time ago, and then Pat launched it. He's our barrel master over at Cellar 3. We relaunched a Belgian kind of branded series out of Cellar 3, and this happens to be one of them. Then we also do a Belgian style triple and a Belgian style Grand Cru as well. So yeah, it's a really nice addition to kind of to have year round. We all missed it. It was gone for a few years, and now it's back, and everybody that works here is very excited about the having this beer back in the lineup.
Danielle,
The old
thoughts?
Rayon Vert.
I like
right.
it, and I like how Paul was saying it's not overly funky. It doesn't have that super strong Belgian-y taste to it, but more of like a farmhouse table beer. So I really thoroughly enjoyed it, as you can tell.
Thanks, it's gone. Yeah,
Where did this go? What the hell?
I kind of liked the old name Rayon Vert because it was French for
Green Flash.
Green Flash, right?
Tried to trick everybody. Something else that we're going to be pouring over at the Local Brews is going to be GFB, which we're really excited about. That beer is your everyman, everyday beer, kind of drinking in the backyard. We try to be, as much as we can, even though it's hard to do, try to be everything to everyone. And this is kind of our entry-level beer, if you will, that you can grab and enjoy with your friends, and just kind of throw some back. And I think Paul, you had some earlier that you were enjoying.
Yeah, and I think Danielle would say that beer is crushable.
Crushable. There you go.
I was thinking more quaffable, but I need to try it first.
Quaffable, crushable,
Let's dial up the fanciness of that. It's quaffable.
Maybe more lawn mowable, perhaps. That was always a favorite of mine.
So anyway, really nice blonde ale, and the reason I wanted to bring it up because not only will we have it at the House of Blues, Local Brews, Local Grooves, but it also just came out in 6-packs out in the market, and now you know what it looks like. There it is.
All right.
GFB.
You saw it
A
first
sweet
here.
Blonde ale,
box.
right here.
Like it.
In your face. Okay, cool. We want to try some more beers?
Yeah.
You guys like beer?
Tell us about. We're going to try the West Coast now,
Let's
right?
do some West Coast.
As though we haven't tried
You
the
guys
West
have never
Coast
had this
before.
beer?
Yeah.
A brand new one that we just came out with. 12 years ago.
I was going to say, it's a classic, everybody.
This is definitely a classic, definitely a fun one. So, all right, ready? Who's first?
Let me clean my glass.
Okay, Tommy. So West Coast IPA.
That's good. Thank you.
Tommy doesn't like West Coast IPA.
No, Tommy likes it a little
Work
too
for
much
me.
sometimes.
This is our, definitely has been our flagship for years and years. Big, crazy, hoppy double IPA, uses 5 different kinds of hops. And what I like about it a lot is that it's really well-rounded despite being the aggressive hop-forward beer that it is. Even though that we use a lot of hops and the IBUs are very high in it, we also dry hop it quite a bit, and we add a lot of late edition Whirlpool and kettle hops, which provides that kind of well-rounded feeling to the beer. So even though it does have an aggressive bitterness, it does have that flavor and aroma to back it up as well. So I think it rounds it out nicely for a very aggressive IPA.
So it's multi-dimensional. Doesn't just hit you with the bitterness, it gives you the full hop flavor.
No doubt.
As well.
Yeah, and I think that
It's got a nice sturdy malt backbone.
Yeah, and I was going to say that the use of a little bit of caramelized malts helps round it out too. So you get a little bit of that caramely note, that amber coloring to it, and it's big bright aroma and a nice clean crisp finish on it.
It's a San Diego classic.
Sometimes you forget about it and you got to revisit it and go back. And
I was just thinking that same thing as I
Absolutely, yeah.
tasted this right now. Like, it's been a while since I've had this beer and I forgot how good it was.
So Dave and Paul, can you guys just kind of break down what a West Coast IPA is? Because I feel like I see this a lot. I see, West Coast IPA at other breweries. So what exactly is it? Like, break it down.
Yeah.
You want
me
that
to go
one?
first?
I'll go.
No, go ahead, go first.
Well, it's,
I'll add
we've
some
got
color.
sort of, the British style IPA was your classic style forever. And then us, American upstarts came along and made an American IPA, which was kind of a maybe slightly drier, less malty, more hop forward version of the British. And then San Diegans came along and won up to the American IPA, made it even more bold and aggressive and hop forward and slightly drier as well. So each, it started with British, then Americans kind of won up, and then San Diegans kind of won up to America.
So is San Diego like really the only place that you would find a West Coast IPA? And then it just like kind of grew across everybody else?
Well, there was West Coast, and then there was San Diego, which was even more than West Coast.
More
And-
specific.
Yeah. But now you're seeing it pop up in like Europe in some place, Germany, Spain, France. They're all kind of doing San Diego or West Coast IPAs.
I mean, so would you call something like Racer 5? Would that be a West Coast style?
I mean, yeah, it's been around for a long time. I think it was one of the original kind of West Coast style IPAs back then. But as with anything, beers change over times, and now I think the West Coast style is moving towards that like super dry hop, low to no bitterness, and that kind of style of beer, lower ABV. But to go back to the historical part of it, I think that the use of less and less specialty malts in them as well, and using more of the paler malts and getting away from that British mentality of using crystal malts or caramelized malts, which added some balance to the beers, but we were really looking for more of the unbalanced, like very hop forward. We were really trying to show off the hops, but we kind of bastardized that by dry hopping the hell out of everything and really bringing that hop aroma to the forefront and toning down on the crystal malts to have it that, like Paul was saying, that really dry, clean, crisp style IPA with a good level of bitterness and a high amount of hop aromatics as well, and really showcase the West Coast style hops that are grown out in the West Coast, in the Pacific Northwest. They have high oil contents with all these beautiful, fresh citrus, pine, grassy kind of aromas, and that is a big component of a West Coast style IPA, is showcasing those hops.
I didn't know that.
The more you
can
know.
almost
Yeah.
thank Green
No idea.
Flash and Alpine for really kind of getting it all on the map.
Yeah, I mean, forever I want to say that the only time I had heard of West Coast IPA was from Green Flash. And that was kind of what got me into drinking IPAs was, the West Coast IPA. So
I mean, I think there were definitely people making it before we did, for sure, but we were the first ones to call it West Coast IPA. But yeah, I mean, I think you had, Pizza Port was making West Coast style IPAs, and AleSmith and Stone. When Stone IPA came out, everybody was like, "What the hell is this?
Right.
This is insane." And I think that's a really common style nowadays. And like I said, I think when you look at this beer as comparison to the styles of IPAs that are more kind of prevalent right now, it's fun to see the progression of beers. And I mean, I think that goes back to trying to be everything to everyone, is have the big aggressive IPAs, have the really high aromatic, low ABV beers, have the blonde ales, the barrel-aged beers, you got to have everything now.
Right,
It's like the consumers want you to be everything to everyone. So yeah, you got to have the stouts and the
So do you see maybe taking a stab at the East Coast IPAs that are going on right now?
I guess you're talking about the Pacific or the Northeast style IPAs, right? Like the
style.
Those super, murky.
I know, yeah. So no.
West Coast.
I mean, here my honest feeling on that style of beer is that, so like Alpine's been making a beer for years and years and years. What's it called?
Well, Nelson,
right? So Nelson has been around forever, and to me, that's that style, I guess. Like and I think a lot of people confuse the clarity with being the style, and that's not necessarily the case, because you can have cloudy beers all day long, and that doesn't necessarily make the beer what it is. To me, what a Northeast IPA is just what we were talking about, a low IBU, high dry hop, heavily dry hopped IPA that, it's like very low in bitterness, 30 to 50 IBUs, 5 to 6.5% in alcohol, with 2 to 3 pounds a barrel of dry hop. I think that's what makes it, and I don't think it's the people will say that because it's hazy, it's the mouthfeel, and I think there's certain element to be said about not stripping out the hops from filtration and things like that. But really, I mean, I think that you could blindfold somebody, dry hop the hell out of a beer, make it a low IBU beer, and you'd have a beer that people would love just as much, whether it has the cloud or not the cloud. Would you agree with that?
I do, and I actually think the Alchemist set out to try to make an Alpine-like beer. I read this online, so it must be true. And
That
if we've
Google's
learned
at it
anything
again.
over the last 3 months,
That's exactly right.
And well,
Yes.
they kind of failed. Alpine's a pretty distinctive beer. It's very well known, but in the process, ended up making a really tasty beer. It wasn't exactly like Alpine. It was perhaps a little more orangey and way more hazy, like a milkshake, but still very very drinkable beer. But like Dave said, it's really like hop forward, and there's a lot of IPAs that are very hop forward. What I think distinguishes that is just the cloudiness, the murkiness for the people who want to drink with their eyes. Some brewers will say all that hoppy, the yeast floating around gives something that the hop oils and resins can bind to, and that makes for a hoppier beer. I think the jury's still out on whether or not that's true, but
yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm not like bashing any particular style. Like I taste those beers and go, this is a really great beer, but I don't go, it's because of the cloudiness that makes it that great beer. And I think that like when you have Nelson, I mean, that beer's been made for, I don't know, 8-9 years now, and
So good.
I don't like, that's not a milkshakey style beer. It's definitely got a solid haze to it, but you can still see through it. It's transparent. But I don't think that that's what, I mean, it is characteristic now. We all know Nelson as being this cloudy style of beer, but I don't think that that's what the beer is. What the beer is the Nelson hops and the Southern Cross hops and the high dry hopping rate and the relatively low bitterness and that silky mouthfeel. I think that's why it is what it is. So, I've had hazy, I mean, we've, messed up a batch and had a hazy batch of beer come through that tastes exactly the same as the other. I didn't go, oh man, it tastes so much better, and or vice versa. I don't necessarily have like a heavily filtered beer that I'm like, oh, this was way better earlier. I mean, there are slight differences between unfiltering and filtering, but I don't think it's as extreme as people are thinking, like you said, when they're drinking with their eyes. I mean, I think they're great beers, and great beers are great beers.
Awesome.
I was going to say we should cheers, but we've sort of
We're all out of beer.
we might have to pop another bottle.
I know you mentioned
next
making this
one.
shorter,
Exactly, yes.
so
Well, so much for
enjoy.
that. The best laid plans. So we got Dave Adams here from Green Flash Brewing. We've also got Candace Vallon here from the House of Blues. Local Brews, Local Grooves is happening on Saturday night, March the 25th. Danielle is going to be there. Tim Piles is going to be there. Isn't he running for Senate? Isn't that what Tim Piles is doing
Something
right
like
now?
that. He's probably something.
And Paul Segura is here, ladies and gentlemen, from Carl Strauss. And we are at Green Flash today, and we've got the Nouveau Tart Flanders Style Red Ale.
Yeah, one more Cellar 3 beer for the road.
Now, I know that Flanders is not named for the character from The Simpsons.
Right, correct. Ned, actually, and Alpine does make a Flanders that is called Ned.
Oh,
So we have that one too. And our beer was originally, before we changed the name, it was called Flanders Drive, which is named after the street that we're on here.
Right.
And that was the last beer that we made at the old brewery in Vista, and toted it down in barrels, and we released it for our 10th anniversary. So here we are in our 15th anniversary this year, and we are drinking the same beer. Awesome. Lovely, yummy Flanders style red ale. Something that's unique about this particular one is that this is a beer that's usually aged in French oak red wine barrels, and it has some wild yeast and some bacteria in it, which we do all of those things as well. But something unique about this one is that we take that finished product from the French oak red wine barrels, and then we put it into spent bourbon barrels after that to round it out. So it's like it needed more stuff.
You guys are going crazy.
Exactly. Yeah, we just needed one more component to it. But I think it helps add the complexity. It rounds out some oak notes and some spice, and then you end up with the...
You get the, right up front, you get the red berries going on with the nose, and then it kind of gives way to a little bit of bourbon, some vanilla, some graham cracker, all kinds of stuff going on.
I like that it's not super tart. It's not like, crazy, where sometimes when you taste, like get that like taste. Like you don't get that at all with this.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that it's similar to IBUs. The total acidity levels in the finished beers are similar to that in the sense that they're perceived differently. It's not just a number. Like it is a number, but it also has to do with the other ingredients in the beer. For example, if you have a beer that's a 4% beer with the same acid level as this, then it's probably going to be a lot sharper than something that has more of these red malt characteristics and the big oaky notes. Same thing with IBUs. If you have a beer that has nothing else behind it and it's 100 IBUs and it's 5% alcohol, it's going to be super darn bitter. You have a beer that has lots of specialty malts, maybe 10, 11%, has the same amount, you wouldn't even think that it was that bitter at all. So really should be judged more on a relative scale, you know, and I think that it does have the acidity, it does have sharpness, but it is rounded out by the other components in the beer. So yeah, no, it's a great observation.
Now, how long have you had this the Cellar 3 barrel aging facility?
2 years now.
Okay.
Coming up on 2 years. Also, we're about to launch we do a Barrel Master Reserve beer, where we're over there experimenting all the time with different stuff, and once a quarter, we package something that would normally be draft only, and it's a 1 day bottle release only kind of a deal, and we put like hand labels on it and set up a fun event that day. We'll put other specialty stuff on, do some food pairings, and we're doing a beer called Brilliant Sauvage, which is a wheat style beer with passion fruit, black tea, passion fruit concentrate in French oak red wine barrels with Brettanomyces for 9 to 12 months or so, and then we blended those together, and then we made a double batch of the tea and added that back in for some more of that tropical aroma, and it's got that nice little acid, a little bit of funk, and that huge tropical guava, mango, passion fruit, pineapple kind of aroma, and really, really fun beer. So I'm super excited about that.
Thirsty.
That'll be April 8th. April 8th. You'll be able to come grab some of that.
April 8th.
Yeah.
And the website is greenflashbrew.com.
Nailed it.
Greenflashbrew.com.
What you and Pat Corn are doing out of Cellar 3 these days is insane, man. You guys are like killing it.
That means a lot. I'm sure Pat would really appreciate it. I just kind of come over when the beer's done and we drink it together and we go, hey, a little of that barrel, a little of that barrel, and which is the fun part for me. So he's doing all the work behind it, and he just will call me and say, what do you think about this? And I go, yeah, great. I pretty much say yes to everything. So
well, at the end of the day, human palates have to decide whether or not it tastes good, and other people are going to enjoy it. And you've got an educated palate, and
thank you.
He probably relies on that quite a bit.
Yeah, appreciate that.
So
it's super fun.
Has Cellar 3 made it out to Virginia Beach? Or is it?
We distribute the stuff out all over the place, like the packaged stuff. So that anything that you see in 750s will be around at the stores, at your local cool bottle shop, liquor store. And then we do a bunch of draft, both at Virginia Beach and here. And we do a little bit at Alpine and a little bit and a lot over at Cellar 3, obviously. So we usually have anywhere from 15 to 20 barrel-aged beers on all the time over at Cellar 3.
It's awesome.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Cool.
It's crazy.
Candace, and so
crazy good.
at the House of Blues, Local Brews, Local Grooves is happening on the 25th.
Yeah.
And what's the website once again for the House of Blues San Diego, where you can get the tickets?
I'll say it really slowly because it's kind of long. So it's houseofblues.com/San Diego/Local Brews, Local Grooves.
houseofblues.com/San Diego/Local Brews, Local Grooves.
Correct.
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
Yes.
After all this?
Nailed it.
Wow.
I think you need more West Coast IPA.
I think you're right. And try the GFB too while you're at Local Brews, Local Grooves this year. Say hi to Danielle and Tim
Yeah.
Piles while you're there as well. Thanks for coming by, Candace.
Thank you.
Yeah, good
This is
having you
awesome.
here. Dave, good seeing you as
Cheers.
always,
Great to
pal.
see you, man.
Good seeing you, buddy.
Cheers.
Paul Segura, always a
Lady.
pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
This is the first time Paul and been on the show together.
That's true.
I think so.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah,
this
it
is.
is. This
I
is
filled in that one time, and then
Can we get a photo of this? For some proof? Check out all of our ABV episodes and Beer for Breakfast and otherwise at 91x.com. We post new editions of ABV weekly.